Okay guys, so we didn't get to go over this in class, but I'm just going to record a super brief review. Again, I'm really not going to give you guys any answers, but you guys are kind of more than welcome to pause, take a look at these flow charts that I made for you guys and fill them out on your own. If you want, you guys can email me. Again, we aren't going to be having lab next week. For my Tuesday classes, a little unfortunate because that's the day you guys take the exam. So I will not be answering any emails for you guys come Tuesday. So as soon as the exam opens, I cannot help you, obviously, because if you're taking the exam and you're emailing me for answers, I can't do that. But I will be answering questions up until Monday night. Realistically, probably Monday night at like 6 p.m. because that's my bedtime. And I close my laptop at the end of my workday. So I won't be able to respond to you guys any later than that. But if you guys are working on this and you still don't quite understand what I'm asking for, or if you want my help with like the beta oxidation cuts and all that stuff like that, I can definitely help you guys out with that. Also, Sophia will be hosting an exam review. Again, I don't know the date quite yet, but keep an eye out for that beach board announcement because that will be just an even more in-depth version of what I'm doing for you guys. Okay, so let's get started. We went over this in class, but you got to know the difference and pretty much the inverse relationship when you put things in order from fastest to slowest rate of energy production, and then from the amount of energy produced. So I'll do the first one for you. So place in order from fastest to slowest rate of energy production. You guys might be a little bit confused about why I have 5, but I'm thinking the first one is going to be free ATP. So you may not have considered that one as one of your options. So that's going to be the fastest one, right? And then our next one is going to be the PCR system or your phosphagen system, right? It's really the same thing. So don't get confused about that one. The next fastest is going to be you can break it down, fast glycolysis. I think that's spelled correctly. Okay, we have our fast glycolysis, and then obviously what's next, slow glycolysis. What do I mean by, what's the difference between fast and slow glycolysis? And the biggest thing, and the biggest difference between the two of those are your end products, okay? So for fast glycolysis, we start with glucose or glycogen, and we end with lactate, all right? Very important, we end with lactate. With slow glycolysis, we can start with glucose still, but we're gonna end with pyruvate, which then gets put into the Krebs cycle. So he kind of lumps, starting from glucose all the way to the end of the Krebs cycle as slow glycolysis, all right? And then our very last one we're gonna label as beta oxidation, which is when you start with a fat, but this also includes the electron transport chain as well. All right, so if you know this one, you can probably answer the second one because it's really just in the opposite order. Okay, so think about, even though it may be the slowest, this one's probably going to produce the most energy. Think about that final ATP number. All right, that one's pretty easy. How do I get rid of this? Okay, so let's move on to our next question. There we go. So, all right, here we go. Glycolysis, right? So again, we're starting the pathway with glucose originally. Originally, we start with glucose. How is it different when we start with glycogen? So I'm not going to give you guys this answer, but think about in what step, glycogen kind of comes in on. And what does that mean for the net ATP value? You guys are going to learn from my exam review. I don't give you guys answers that often. I really like to make you guys think for yourselves. Because I'm not taking the test for you. You guys are. So you got to know it. So this right here would be glucose. These are steps that are kind of important, right? You got to know what part uses ATP, what's your investment phase, what part makes ATP, and what about glycogen is special, and how does it skip a step? So I'm going to leave that there for you guys. These are some other questions you guys can answer. And we already talked about this one, but what is the end product of glycolysis? And again, it depends on which one we are talking about. So this box right here is going to be your pyruvate. How many do we make? Okay, So pyruvate, if we're talking about the end product of fast glycolysis, it should be, like I said earlier, lactate. However, if we are going to move into slow glycolysis and continue to the Krebs cycle, your end product is technically pyruvate, right? End product for fast glycolysis, lactate. So very important. Moving on to the Krebs cycle. So continuing through our slow glycolysis, right? We already talked about what goes in, what kind of does it make right here? What are some important byproducts? So you got to know all these separate byproducts, right? That's why I have this list: ATP, NADH, all that good stuff. Know how many come from there. What are most two important ones? Our starting one is our citrate, and our final one is, this one's kind of hard because no one knows how to say it, oxaloacetate. All right, so we have our citrate, which is technically the start of our cycle, even though it is a cycle, and then our end is oxaloacetate. Okay, like I said, you need to know diagrams, right? So be able to label all the complexes, know how many ions are coming through, what are the protein transporters, and most importantly, how many ATP can be made from those NADHs that are getting dropped off, or those FADHs that are getting dropped off, right? What is this calculation over here? Right, so you got to know that. I'm not going to go over it. He goes over it very well in his video, so I'm going to let you guys just rewatch that. If you have questions, do let me know. Okay, this one is the fun one. Again, I'm not going to go over this. I'm really going to leave this one to Sophia because I think she can better answer it for you guys. But this is what you should be practicing to do. So I gave you guys a 12 carbon stearic acid. Right, so think about, how would you cut that up? How many products are going to be able to come from it? From those products that you listed up here, how many ATP can you get? Then, using this box over here, what was the amount of ATP total? Don't forget to subtract, right? You got to think about the energy you used in order to make these cuts, right? So attempt that one. If you guys are working on it and you really don't know how to get it, I will happily draw it out for you, send you guys a picture, and we'll talk through it together. But like I said, Sophia is more than likely going to go over this, so I'm going to let her take this one for you guys. Okay. So that's kind of it. I went over things super briefly, right? These are the main concepts I think you guys should be focusing on. These are some important tips and tricks. Again, I will be answering questions up until like Monday at like 5 p.m. That's usually when my workday ends. So go ahead and email me all throughout the week. I don't really get back to you guys on weekends, but for the rest of this week, if you guys are studying or all day Monday in the mornings, I will happily respond to your questions. I usually teach Monday labs from 9 to noon. So I'll be on my computer, definitely grinding on stuff. So I'll be responding to emails very quickly then. So I highly recommend emailing me then. Good luck, guys. I know it's intimidating. This is your first exam. Remember, really know your stuff. Definitely don't try to do it where you just have your notes open on your other monitor, and your control F and everything. It's not going to work. You're going to run out of time. So really know your stuff. You guys got this. It's going to be fine. Look over those quizzes. Oh, shoot, I didn't mention this, but he has learning objectives in the beginning of every module. That's your study guide, right? Go through those and answer them like they're free response questions. If you know every single one of them and you can do it without looking at your notes, you're golden. You're going to be fine. All right, guys, good luck. You guys got this, and I'm here for you if you ever have questions. All right, everyone. I will see you soon.